I attended the Black Wealth Summit in November of 2024. And I know this video is coming a little bit late, but I did want to come on here and share with you what I learned because it was a wealth of information and it was really good. So I have my notebook that I carried with me to the Black Wealth Summit. The Black Wealth Summit was hosted by Cedric Nash. It's like his thing, and it's also like he has a mentorship program that goes along with it. Anyway, it was really cool. So I'm going to go through and literally just tell you everything that I learned, how I think it's going to be helpful, and maybe you can learn something from it too. Okay, so the Black Wealth Summit had a variety of different topics and a variety of different speakers. So I'm going to give you an overview of what those topics and what those speakers were. So the very first one, and I don't know if I actually wrote down every single speaker and every single topic, so sorry if I missed some, but I wrote down the ones that I definitely like had an interest in or learned some great information from. So the first one was the Chief Economic Strategist. She did like an economic forecast of what to expect in the coming months and how that would affect you and how you should move accordingly. And that was pretty interesting. Next, there was building a strong investment portfolio, and that was one of my favorite ones. After that was creating a family wealth summit, also very fun because they talked a lot about how to make sure that your family is involved with wealth and making it more normal to talk about money. There was a home ownership panel and building wealth through home ownership. Next, there was wills, estates, and trusts, and that was hosted by an attorney, of course. There was the AI revolution, which honestly was probably one of my favorite ones because I learned a lot there. So that was like how to leverage AI for success. Then there was also options trading. That one was pretty cool too. There was DC real estate moguls. There was getting capital for your business. And then there was also a fireside chat at the end. So I'm going to go back and actually go through some of these different programs and some of these different like panels and speakers and what I learned from them. And maybe you guys can again take something from it or not. So starting off was Ellen Zentner. Sorry if I said her name wrong. And this was the Chief Economic Strategist. She talked about how she predicted that interest rates will continue to go down and essentially said there was like a positive outlook for businesses and for what we could expect to happen with, again, not only interest rates, but like the ability to like buy homes and like tax rates and tax cuts and different things along those lines. And obviously, like we all know like what's going on with this current administration. And so I think like it really depends on how you look at the situation, but interest rates are moving down. They are moving in the direction that you would want them to move if you are in the home buying market. And so definitely for me, I would probably be purchasing a home this year. And you guys know if you're watching this and you've been here for a while that I've been looking for an investment property. So definitely watching those interest rates and seeing if they continue to drop, if they continue to go down, and maybe like getting an investment property on a sale, so to speak, so I can start my house hacking journey or however I end up doing it. But you guys will know, I'll keep you updated. The next one was the building a strong investment portfolio. So the biggest thing here was to start early. And I feel like I talk about this as well, especially if you're in it for the long run and you're in it to build long-term wealth or to have like a retirement fund that you could ideally live off of. The earlier you are in the market, the earlier you start investing, the more time you have to take advantage of compound interest. So they were talking about that in this panel. The next thing was knowledge is wealth. And this was about sharing the knowledge that you've learned and sharing what you know about wealth building and building generational wealth and financial literacy just with everyone around you. That's what I do on this channel. That's what I do on my TikTok and my Instagram. So make sure you're following there if you aren't. But that's super important, right? Because I talked about on my social media, not here, but I talked about my backdoor Roth IRA. I was actually shocked that a lot of people didn't know about, you know, the backdoor Roth IRA, which is essentially what you do if you're over the income limit for contributing to an otherwise regular Roth IRA account, right? And then it's come to my attention too that like tax strategies and different things along those lines, a lot of new high income earners aren't aware of what to do or how to use that. That's actually why I started my series, you know, Financial Freedom for High Earning Women, and it's to talk about these things and to continue to share that knowledge. So they talked about this in this panel. So if you haven't watched that series, that will probably be a good one to go and watch after this, is watch all the videos there. The next thing they said was what you learn, you teach, and what you get, you give, which is maybe that's my own words and what I took from it, but I literally have that written down word for word here. And again, that just goes into like the knowledge is wealth power and making sure that you're sharing what you're learning with other people, especially if you're trying to, again, make sure that you have a family, you have a circle of friends, you're hanging around people who are likewise financially literate and making the right money moves. So this is kind of like the perfect transition into the creating a family wealth summit. And this is, it's as simple as passing down generational wealth and knowledge and making sure that everyone in your family, right, like your close friends, your brothers, your sisters, your parents, your aunts, literally whoever, that they are aware of the right money moves to make, that they're not throwing their money away, that they're doing the investments for the long term, that they're doing what they need to do to create a strong financial kind of like, honestly, starting point for themselves and for their children, and making sure that that continues to go down and doesn't get lost. Because if no one is telling you, then you're not going to know, because it's not like you're really being taught these in schools, right? You're not forced to take a financial literacy class. And so making sure that you are creating that financial literacy in your home and at their dinner tables, and you're making talking about money comfortable. And this one is actually just me, they weren't saying this. Talking about money, you have to get comfortable with it, right? I talked about this again in the financial freedom series that I created. People are, especially people in like our community, like immigrant communities, Black communities, brown communities, whatever. I feel like to an extent, there's kind of like this uncomfortability when it comes to talking about money. And you can't have that uncomfortability, because how is anyone going to know what to do with their money or be financially literate if you don't teach them about money, if you don't talk about money, right? So making sure that you're very intentional about doing that. Next was the home ownership is wealth building through home ownership. I really, really enjoyed this panel. So they talked about a bunch of different programs that you could use, especially if you're like a first-time home buyer. So just a few that I have written down is the HPAP program, and the MANA, which is like either a housing counseling or mentorship program. They talked about getting closing home grants. They talked about EAP. They talked about DC Open Door. So lots of different grants and opportunities that you can take advantage of during your home buying journey. And I can tell you like too, like even as I was looking for investment properties, my lender did talk about how a lot of the homes, especially in like the DC or DMV area, will qualify for certain programs or certain credits based on wherever that home is. So again, making sure that you're knowledgeable and taking advantage of these like discounts of these programs, and making sure that you're aware, or you're working with someone who is aware of them, right? So making sure you're choosing the right lender, choosing the right realtors who are knowledgeable about these different things, even when you're not. Oh, that's so funny. The next thing here is vet your lender. That's so funny. So yeah, I did that. I talked to multiple different lenders before deciding like who I would go with, and making sure that they were knowledgeable about what I was interested in doing. And then I do have right here NAREB or NAREB, NAREB, which is the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. And again, just along the same lines, making sure you have someone who is knowledgeable and knows what they're talking about. So next is wills, estates, and trusts. And so basically these are just what the attorney talked about here was the 4 different ways that assets are transferred. So you have ownership, beneficiary designation, trusts, wills, and then he talked about like the probate process. I didn't write too much notes down on that one, but essentially, no matter your age, no matter how young you are, you want to have all of that stuff set up, especially life insurance. I actually don't even think he talked about life insurance, but that's an important one. And I know that I was still going through like finding someone to help me like with the life insurance, getting that set up and all that good stuff, because you just never know what's going to happen. So you want to make sure your money is going to the right places and to the right people who you want it to be going to. Next is one of my favorite panels. This was the how to leverage AI for success. And so, oh my goodness. So this one, she literally gave like a bunch of different AI tools that you could use in your business and in your personal life to make things go a lot easier. I did try to use and do use some of these things. So the first one was gamma.ap, and this one is great for like presentations. So like it makes your presentations for you. It's really good, especially if you're like a coach, for example, or someone who does presentations or slide decks. That's what that one is good for. And it's helping you grow and scale at record pace. The next one is Great Space. This one is an AI agent to answer the phone, and you can literally train your AI agent to say anything, to respond to anything. And it sounds like a human. Like she showed us examples and you wouldn't even know that it was AI. It was amazing. Okay. The next one is Hey Jen, which is training an AI agent. This one was really cool. I believe this one was the one where she had it speak different languages. So she said something in English, and then her AI agent on HN would repeat it in like French or German or what, like if you have like customers or clients or whatever who speak a different language, instead of like having a translator, you could literally have this AI agent who would translate it for you in that different language. It was so cool. It was really, really cool. I haven't tried that one, but it could do a lot for you. The next one was Opus.pro, which is best for editing videos. I have tried that before. Obviously, you guys know about ChatGPT. I feel like that one everyone knows about. The next one is Perplexity.ai. This one is really good for research. And then Ideogram. So this one was AI art. So again, she like kind of just told us about these different AI programs and sampled some of them and showed us some of them. And I mean, I haven't tried all of them. I have tried some of them, but I just told you what they do. And so depending on whatever your niche is or whatever you do, you can go out and look them up or go out and give them a try and let me know in the comments if you do. But I thought this was really cool. It was definitely one of my favorite presentations along with the home ownership one, because it shows you how much AI has evolved and how much you can use AI to automate everything and to grow your business without necessarily having to hire outside help or spend tons of money to do it. Next was the options trading presentation. And this one, he just talked about how to do options trading. I'm not going to go into like the nitty gritty here because that could take forever. And I'm not an expert on options trading, but he talked about calls and puts and he explained how it works and how to go about it. So for those of you who like trading or want to get into trading, then you want to watch a video on learning how to trade. The next was DC Real Estate Moguls. And here they just talked about the fundamentals of real estate. Let me be clear here. This wasn't like, oh, they're buying single family homes or even 3 or 4 unit buildings. These were like people who they're buying like 50 units, 100 units, like true, like real estate moguls, like beyond like the single family, beyond the 3 or 4 door, 5 door. It was like 100 doors, 50 doors, like so on and so forth, right? So that panel was just really cool. And they talked about how they got into it, what it's like, finding the right property and getting it built, or if it's already built, right? It was just a whole lot. And so that panel was really cool getting to hear from them and how they got into that for people who would be interested in like kind of being that real estate mogul or upgrading from just like a regular real estate investment portfolio. So the next one is getting capital for your business. And here they talked about the 5 C's of getting capital, which is character, capacity, capital, collateral, and conditions. And so these are the 5 C's that you want to make sure you have in order to secure capital for your business. They talked about the importance of kind of establishing relationships with your banker, with your bank, because if you have a relationship with the right person, then they can, they're more like willing to work with you or find someone who can lend you the money or find someone who will work with you depending on your different like circumstances. And so I found that panel like super, super helpful. Although I wasn't looking for capital for my business, it was still helpful for like if down the line, if I potentially wanted to. It's like knowing the exact steps to take, knowing what I need to know, how to go about it, how to think about it, everything along those lines. And then the final one that I have here is a fireside chat with Earn Your Leisure. And that was essentially just kind of going through like how they got to where they are, how they started the podcast, how they started their business, where they are now, like what was required. They talked a lot about using social media to get their podcast / business up to where it is now and just kind of like their way up, right? It was just an interesting chat to see and hear about their journey. And you probably are familiar with Earn Your Leisure, so they were there. And that was really cool. So that's everything that I learned from the Black Wealth Summit. I am sure they will be doing another one this year in 2025. So maybe you can look into that and see if you want to attend. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you watch my previous video on the 8 things I learned about wealth from being around millionaires. And I will see you guys on my next one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe and follow on social media at Sephora Gray Esquire. That's ESQ for short. And I will see you on my next one. Bye.